Hi. So this is the Module 8 discussion, and this topic was about separation and divorce. And it's for, excuse me, excuse me. Sorry. And this one's about separation and divorce. And it's four different topics in this one. So the first one is one pro and one con from the article that was put in the Module 8 content. And a pro that I seen was that taking a break can actually help couples clear their mind. And when there's like constant argument and like being overwhelmed, space can help like reflect and come back together and like really regulate your emotions. A con that I seen was that trial separations can sometimes help, but sometimes it can push the people further apart. So when there's no communication or clear boundaries about what is going on during those trial separations, it can turn into emotional distance and create even further problems. For the second topic, it says pick one station on page 369, which could be the most challenging in chapter 14 of our reading this week. And one of them was communication between partners during separation. And I chose this one because I personally went through this. Especially when I had a what is it called, an avoidant partner, and he wasn't confrontational. So like anytime there was a disagreement, instead of working through it, he would just like stop talking to me, or he'd just like completely not want to talk or whatever. So yeah, that was an issue. So like when we would like separate or like just not talk or anything, it was always like me like constantly pushing to like have conversations instead of like him or whatever. So yeah, that was one that I chose to talk about because it's what I experienced personally. So the third one is the causes and correlations on tab 165 of the textbook, and what stood out the most. And I said constant conflict and poor communication. I went through this personally as well, which goes back to the second one. Constant conflict. Excuse me. I wouldn't even say we had constant conflict. It was more like the conflict would just last and the conflict would be repetitive. And he wasn't the type of person to really want to talk about the conflict, especially if he was the one in the wrong, which that was like 85% of the time. So like it would lead to poor communication because he wouldn't want to talk about it, or he wouldn't want to deal with it or anything. He just kind of wanted to like pass over, and like we would have those conversations as well as like, why are you still on that or anything like that. So that definitely stood out to me because that's also something I went through personally, and it was one of the major reasons why our engagement ended, which you need communication in a relationship. That's like the biggest thing. So lastly, it says share one thing you found interesting after watching one of the marked videos. So it was either the music video by Ray Lynn or the talking video. Me personally, I didn't want to do the music, so I listened to the talking. It was the talking to children about separation and divorce. And one thing that I found interesting was that a lot more children blame themselves for separation of their parents more than I thought. So, like my parents went through divorce, but I never really blame myself. Well, I don't think my brother did either because I can't speak for my brother. But I didn't blame myself because they constantly reminded me that the breakup was specifically about them and the conflicts that they were having and not about the kids. Because like my dad, he still came and got us, every other weekend. We still had visitation. He still did things. He did do more things, and I was more involved with him personally and grew my own relationship with him as I got older, when I was able to communicate with him on my own rather than through my mom. But he did constantly, like they both constantly reminded us that we broke up because of this, this, and this, and like this situation, and this. It was never about like, oh, the kids, the family. Like it was never that. It was always like, well, this happened, so it led to this and stuff like that. And the video also explained how important it was for parents to reassure their kids that it's not their fault. And I love that the video explained that because that's exactly what my parents did. They reassured us that it was not our fault. And yeah, just that children are deeply affected. And my parents' divorce affected me more as so of not having both parents in the house, not as much so of it's my fault why they separated. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what stood out to me. That's what I found interesting. But yeah, that's my initial post. So I hope y'all enjoy.